Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. I'm talking today about the ally system. I'm going to talk part tactically, part just about how I think you should go about using it. Which is sort of tactics, but it's sort of not because some of it isn't tactical at all. Anyway, the Allies Matrix was introduced at the start of 6th edition in the rulebook and allows you to take small parts from other codices and drop them into your codex. The Allies Force Organisation chart is 1 HQ and 1 troop minimum. You are then free to add 1 more troop, 1 elite, 1 fast attack and 1 heavy support. So you have 1 from each slot and then an extra troop. So that's your Allies chart. This is somewhat constrictive. For example, if you're raiding the Eldar Codex and you say, I want a Fire Prism and a Wraith Knight, tough luck. You pick one or the other. Which is okay, I guess, because it stops you spamming out your sub-army, making it more powerful than your main army, at which point you should just really take the sub-army as your main army. That's not the point. There are 4 levels of alliance. There are Battle Brothers. This means they are basically treated as your army. So they are friendly units, you can attach characters, you can cast psychic powers that affect friendly units on them. You can do anything that you can do to your army to their army, with the exception of army-specific stuff like wars and orders and things. Then you have Allies of Convenience. Allies of Convenience are enemy units. So you treat them as enemy units that you cannot shoot at, you cannot assault, you cannot cast psychic powers on, you cannot attach characters to them, you cannot cast buff powers on them. It's very much, they are there, but that's it. They can hold objectives for you, which is useful, and they won't cause you any problems, but they're not going to do a lot for you in terms of how they can buff you and you can buff them. A couple of examples of Allies Convenience would be Town Imperial Guard, Grey Knights and just about everything. Chaos and Orcs, I think, go under Convenience. They may fall into this next category, which is Desperate Allies. This is the last-minute coalitions of stuff. And these are treated exactly the same as Allies Convenience. So, can't cast powers, can't attach characters. But all Allies of Desperation, or Desperate Allies, cannot claim objectives. Nor can they be denial units, which means they cannot collect Linebreaker for you, or I don't think they can even unclaim objectives and stop your opponent claiming them. So they are really there to kill stuff. Period. They can do no more than that. Plus, if you're within 6 inches of an ally of desperation, you have to roll a d6 for each unit. Is on a 1, they can't do anything because they're too busy watching out the corner of their eye for betrayal. So this can really screw you over if your 50-man blob is all set to unleash hell on this squad in front of you, and then they look over and like, I don't think that those Dark Eldar are going to be very nice to us this turn, I'm not going to do anything. So you're in trouble, and you get screwed over. So I would recommend at least steer well clear of Allies of Desperation. Then you have Cometh the Apocalypse. This basically means you cannot ally. It is forbidden. So all NIDs are Cometh the Apocalypse. Haha, you lost. Plus Imperial and Chaos for obvious reasons. Eldar and Chaos, I believe, as well. So there are a few Cometh the Apocalypse, but the majority of them would fall into Desperate, Convenience, or Battle Brothers. In Battle Brothers, where you'll find the most powerful spam lists. So the Taudar, or Eldar, which is just Tau and Eldar mixed up and spam. Then it's bonkers. It wins most tournaments. I've seen things done with Necrons and Orcs. I've seen Necrons and Grey Knights. Actually, they're Convenience, but that's a side point. Imperial forces are all Battle Brothers with the exception of Grey Knights because they're Convenience with everything. They don't trust anybody. So yeah, there are 2 ways, really. Well, 3 ways to play the Allies Matrix. One is the way I like to play it, and that's the fluff. The fluff being the background. So this means that you pick a sub-army that fits, that you can explain being in your main army. For example, I've just written a Imperial Guard Tau list that I put on the forum I post on, which is Imperial Guard and Tau, and in that list I've come up with a backstory of why certain units in my Guard army are not there, why certain powerful Tau units are not there, and I've come up with a short backstory. I even did a thread on that forum before I posted the list, just to make sure I wasn't going to add anything daft. Hence there are no Commissars, there are no Ogryns, there are no Tech Priests, because they would be either too stupid to work for the Tau, or too loyal to the Emperor. I also cut Stormtroopers, but I had an argument about that one. And I like to play it that way. So for example, you can say, through the mediation of the Harlequins, a Dark Eldar warband is helping out an Eldar craft world in its last defence. You could say a demonic pact has been signed between a greater demon of Khorne and a dark apostle. You can say that a small detachment of ultramarines has come to reinforce the Cadian battle line. You can say just about anything, but make it logical. Obviously, the Matrix will help you with this. For example, it is illogical to put Eldar and Necrons together because Eldar detest the idea of soullessness, which Necrons are. So this would be hard to explain, and I think they are desperate allies, if not come with the apocalypse. Same idea as why Grey Knights cannot ally with demons. They are come with the apocalypse. How do you explain this? You just don't. Simple. So work with the fluff. That's my advice. But of course, there are those who like to win, or just not get a pasting. So allies can also be used to cover your weak spots. For example, if you've got a very assault-based army and you're lacking in anti-tank firepower, you can bring in some las cannons from Codex Space to put the Devastator squad in. If you are a very static army and you need some fast response troops, you might ally in some White Scar bikers, or you might ally in some Eldar jet bikes. If you are having a very compact list, you might ally in a blow of Chaos Cultists with a Dark Apostle to buff your numbers up. Although if you're going to buff your numbers up, I thoroughly recommend Guardsmen because you can just take 100 of them in one troop choice. Why bother do anything else? So cover your weaknesses. The second option is, of course, or third option is to buff your strengths. So Tau take Guard for more guns. Marines ally with, I don't know, Space Wolves, so they've got some more combat, but also to give them more bolt guns. Because Space Wolves are slightly better versions of Attack Marines for 1 point more. And it's that sort of thing, so you can buff your strengths. If you're running mass transport spam with Dark Eldar Venoms, you may ally in some Chimeras to give you something more rugged. Although this is Desperate Ally, so I do not recommend you try this tactic whatsoever. The ultimate piece of advice, though, I can give you is don't get stuck in what everybody else tells you will work. If you can come up with a story that fits, and you want to say, okay, I'm going to ally these, I don't know, Sisters of Battle to, I don't know, these orcs, because the Sisters have managed to convince the war boss that the Emperor is an equal god to Gork and Mork, and so that they should try and help him so as he can give Gork and Mork a proper fight. I don't know. I think they're allies of desperation, but it would be a cool backstory to try. But experiment. So, for example, when I run my Tau thing, I've put it with an Ethereal Firewise, Piranha, Broadside, and Crisis Suits. If that gets tabled, I might say, okay, so what didn't work? The Broadside was pointless, so I'm going to take him out, and I'm going to put some Kroot in. And the Ethereal was too weak, he died too easy, so I'm going to put a Commander in. And such. Just feel free to change it up. If a unit isn't working in your allies, take it out, put something else in. If your main army is struggling but your allies are doing really well, leave the allies as is and tweak the main army to help them out. Though this is probably the wrong way around to work. So, in summary, get a hold of a matrix, whether it be a PDF document online, whether it be the rulebook. I don't really care where you get one. Just have a look at the matrix and see what works. For example, NID players, don't even bother. You cannot use the matrix. You are come with the apocalypse because you'll just eat anybody, so ha. Whereas anyone else, feel free to have a look, see what works for you. Bear in mind the various permutations. For example, don't spam out using Desperate Allies because you're more likely to have your units be useless. Try and use the fluff if you can. If not, cover your weaknesses, buff your strengths, whatever, and feel free to experiment. That's my closing piece of advice, and I'm going to leave it there. If you like the video, be sure to, well, hit the like button somewhere down there. Leave any comments. What sort of allies do you use? Does it work? Is it fluffy? I don't really mind how you do it. If you want to put some lists up or tweet me a link to some lists, feel free. I'm happy to do that. My Twitter is @TacticaImperial. I've also tweeted or retweeted a couple of links from another forum about 7th edition rumours, some new codex rumours. So feel free to go check that out. And follow me if you like. I'd really appreciate it. It's very nice to see that people have enough to care about what I'm saying. So that's all for today. I will have the next part of Dark Angels probably Friday, if my maths is right. So thank you for watching. My name is Michael, and I will see you all again.